Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, I am the varsity athlete, Jeremy Bonnet, coming to you live from the northernmost reaches of Insane Game Studios, the Slave Cave, with a quick update. Something very exciting has happened, and I have to share it with you guys right now. I just have to talk about it. The clouds have parted. Another amazing signing for WWE. Jordynne Grace has officially signed a multi-year deal with WWE, effective immediately. At least that's what any logical person would assume. Effective now. We're going to get into the details. We're going to read down on it. We're going to give you the download, and I'm going to talk about my opinion. But before I get to that, first, please like, comment, share, and subscribe down below if you like what we're doing here. If you watch our weekly show on Friday night, please be a part of it. Click that notifications button so you don't miss anything. And if you haven't been watching our show on Friday night, where the heck have you been? Get with the program. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. Jordynne Grace's last appearance on TNA television was TNA Genesis, which we did not talk about on last week's show. We talked primarily about how the title finally passed hands. We talked about the incredible deal that was signed between TNA and WWE. There was some rumors going around that perhaps this was a sign that WWE was eventually just going to basically merge or buy TNA. We certainly don't fully understand what the full scope of everything is going to be at this point. But as time passes on, things are kind of slowly starting to unroll. A little bit of background: Jordynne Grace appeared at the Royal Rumble, 2024's Royal Rumble last year. She was definitely a surprise entrant. She appeared as the Knockouts champion, TNA Knockouts champion at the time, and performed pretty well. We all thought this was a sign of some really cool stuff to come. Both her and multiple other members of TNA talent appeared at NXT multiple times throughout the year last year. So kind of her notoriety grew, her fame grew as time passed. She really hasn't had too much of a presence there over the course of the late part of the year. But she has been in the back of everybody's head. She's continued to stir the pot at TNA. And I think everybody kind of knew, based on how well her Royal Rumble and her subsequent appearances on NXT went, everybody kind of knew she was headed for WWE. Like, if this was a litmus test for WWE, it went really well, and they really should sign her. So it's officially happened. This report is coming from WrestleZone. I'm just going to read from it really briefly here. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful and Fightful Select reports that, per WWE sources, Jordynne Grace has signed with WWE on a multi-year contract. Sapp writes that WWE made their interests known, and they made an offer to Grace a few weeks before she finished with TNA. TNA was said to be fully aware that Grace would be leaving the company. As previously reported, TNA Genesis was said to be her last contracted date with TNA. Sapp also cites WWE sources who said that Grace was signed almost immediately following her final TNA match, as the company did not want her to reach free agency. Now, this is a very interesting piece of information, because now that AEW is in the mix and they're really starting to bid on people, it seems like it's really starting to intensify negotiations, especially with up-and-coming talent that hasn't sort of touched either the TNA or the WWE roster, which I think is a good thing. It's a good thing. It encourages talent development. It encourages hang on to the talent that you have. It's very interesting to think there have been some really great talents that WWE has signed that they really haven't done an awful lot with. I'm thinking about when they scooped up Jade Cargill from AEW, and she made a couple of sort of token appearances, and they even gave her the belt for a little while, the tag belt for a little while with, who was that with? I don't remember who that was with, but they gave her the tag belts for a while, and lo and behold, really nothing has come of it. And it took them forever, right? They signed her, and it wasn't for months and months that she finally appeared, and they really didn't do much with her. She was a really high-end talent that they really didn't do much with. So it kind of gives you the impression that maybe, I don't know, maybe they don't feel too strongly about that type of talent. Also, if you think about the kind of talent that Jade Cargill was. She had the big muscles. She had the huge presence. She had a much more almost masculine sort of presence. She was much more of a powerhouse. And you don't really see, when I look back on history and when I think about WWE, I think about, that doesn't really fit their MO, their typical MO of a more divas type champion, right? I think that someone like Charlotte Flair kind of rides that edge a little bit, but she definitely wasn't as muscular or powerful as Jade Cargill is. And when you think about Jordynne Grace, you think about muscularity, you think about power, you think about performance, you think about that kind of stuff. So hopefully Jordynne Grace doesn't just fall down the well like Jade Cargill did and apparently get left there. But if you think about, there really is some amazing talent that's coming up in WWE right now. They really are starting to bolster their women's roster. Not only do they have all the classical people that they've had for years and years, and they've continued to secure down people that I don't even need to name, but I will anyways, like Rhea Ripley, like the man Becky Lynch, like Charlotte Flair, who is supposedly about to make a return now. But now you've got the up-and-comers. They've given Chelsea Green one of the new mid-level championships. They've got Bayley, who's been a perennial favorite with the crowd, who's come back. I mean, they really are just starting to sort of accumulate talent, especially on the female side, to really help bolster and strengthen. I mean, one of the things that I said is the roster big enough and talented enough to be able to support two additional belts, two mid-card belts, to really make them worth something? And signing somebody like Jordynne Grace really goes a long way to not just securing those mid-level belts, because she could easily hold one of those mid-level belts as part of a storyline and to build her up even more with the fan base. But she's definitely a contender for that top-level belt, and she could be somebody like Rhea Ripley or the man Becky Lynch, or really anyone on the card could have a hell of a match with her and really make things really, really interesting for her. So they say right now that they don't really know when Jordynne Grace is going to be debuting. It would be one of the greatest wastes to not have her as one of the entrants to the Royal Rumble. I don't know why you would do that. Unless you really didn't know what you were going to do with her. Although you have to have, if you've been working on this for weeks, and, if you've been talking to her and developing that plan, you have a plan. You know that if she's going to go to the Rumble, if she's at the Rumble, she's got to get a big push from it. They've got to make it. Either they put her in earlier and they have her go a really long time and they give her lots of time in the ring to really show herself off. They make her one of the last four, which is going to give her some serious ring time and some attention. Or maybe they have her win the whole thing and go all the way. There's a lot of WrestleMania card talk going on right now, even though technically we haven't even started on the road to WrestleMania. But this definitely adds a more exciting thing. I'm going to keep going back to it. 3 weeks ago when we had our first show back, Dan said, how many surprises can you possibly have? And, they just opened up a whole can of worms with TNA. But this isn't even related to that, right? This is related to just a really good signing that they have. So there's a few more things. I'm sure there's a few more rabbits that Triple H can pull out of his hat. But for now, this is definitely enough to stir the pot and keep things interesting leading up to the Royal Rumble and even for multiple weeks beyond. So I'm really excited about it. Please tell me how you feel about it. Are you excited about Jordynne Grace going to WWE? Is she going to get more exposure? Would she be better had she stayed at TNA? Or should she have gone to AEW even? Not sure about that. There's some controversy there. And how do you think, most importantly, how do you think she's going to get used in the first, let's say, 3 to 4 months, like now through WrestleMania? Do they hide her away like they did with Jade Cargill? Are they going to throw her right out there because she already has some exposure to the fan base? And then if they throw her out there, what are they going to do with her? Let us know down below. Love to hear your thoughts. Please let us know. And until then, keep watching and we'll keep wrestling with the business.